Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessie if you are new here. Today I'm going to do a quick little, well hopefully it'll be quick, second trimester recap. Let you guys know how my second trimester went and overall how I was feeling. I did one of these for my first trimester, which I can link in the cards for you so you can watch that if you're interested. But yeah, so again, I mentioned this in my first trimester video. If you aren't interested in pregnancy or like TMI type things, probably not the video for you. I'm not gonna hold back and I'm gonna talk about how everything went. But otherwise, yeah, if you're interested in hearing about how my second trimester went, which is the honeymoon stage, they say, keep on watching. So if you see me looking down, I'm just looking at some notes that I took throughout my second trimester. Some weeks I took more than others because I was feeling better, and then some weeks I felt terrible. So anyway, quick thing, if you didn't watch my first trimester video, I was very sick my first trimester, so I was really looking forward to second trimester. One thing, if you can hear in my voice or see in my face, I'm pretty sure I wiped off all of the makeup on my nose today because I'm blowing my nose, but I have a really bad cold that I'm still trying to get over, and that's kind of a precursor for second trimester because I got sick 3 times. Like outside of pregnancy, like I caught bugs 3 times. If you hear it in my voice, I really wanted to film this video today, but I'm still feeling a little bit under the weather. So if I sound out of breath and or hard to understand because of all the stuff in my sinuses, then yeah, that's what's going on. So let's talk about second trimester. I will say, going into it, I was just like, first trimester, I'm just like, come on, 12 weeks. Everybody says there's like a sudden change at 12 weeks and you just like feel better. That did not happen for me. What I will say is right around 12 weeks, I had like 3 days in a row where I felt really good. So I got kind of tricked into it, and then not so good. I started to feel worse. So I had a lot of nausea in the first trimester, a lot of fatigue, and a lot of puking, a lot of constipation, that kind of stuff. And that kind of continued into my second trimester. I said I was still feeling sick pretty early on. And in fact, until about 18 weeks, so 6 weeks, I didn't track by week because I was still really sick and I just wasn't in my phone. I said I was still feeling sick, puking, came back, bloating, constipation. I puked like multiple times. I think I actually puked more in the second trimester than I did in the first trimester. The first trimester I was just really nauseous and wanted to puke, whereas like second trimester I actually puked quite a few times. I had a lot of migraines. I had a big uptick in my migraines. I mean, I had migraines or headaches almost every single day, which in the beginning of second trimester, this between like 12 to 14 weeks to like 18-ish weeks. One of the things too that I had a lot of was gagging. So I wouldn't even puke, I would just like gag, but I would gag so violently that like it hurt. Like I like my throat and my chest were like raw. It was like very violent and it would be super random. I couldn't see pee in the toilet. I couldn't even think about like supplements or pills or anything like that. And once I would start gagging, it wouldn't stop and I would have to like try to breathe it back down. But it was so weird because I wasn't necessarily puking, or sometimes I would puke, but there wasn't anything really to come up. It was just that I was gagging, and it happened a lot in the morning. So super random. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but it happened to me, and it didn't even matter if I was nauseous or not. It would just like, if somebody said something that triggered me that day, it was ridiculous. Like anything could trigger me at that point, which was crazy. Basically everything up until 18 weeks, I still was feeling like I was in my first trimester. I would have a couple of good days in there. Not many, not enough that I wrote any of them down. I did have to do my gestational diabetes test early. I've talked about this on my Instagram a lot, which follow me if you haven't already. It's just Jessie __Fritz. doctors are just like so focused on this whole like me being overweight thing. First of all, BMI is just like the biggest load of shit in the world as it is. But second of all, I mean, truly, I think for my height, normal BMI is still like under 130 pounds. And I'm like, I haven't been under 130 pounds in years. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But they just like keep making me do dumb shit because I'm overweight. I had to do the gestational diabetes test early. I did pass it, which I did a vlog on somewhere. If I can find it, I'll link it. But now they just told me at my last appointment that I have to do the gestational diabetes test again in my 3rd trimester, and I might possibly have to do it a 3rd time, even though I passed the first one. It's a whole thing. I'm not super happy about it, but it is what it is at this point. In general, though, I wasn't gaining any weight, which they weren't really worried about because I was pretty sick and because I am overweight. Like, I'm not saying I'm not overweight. I just don't think that I'm like so morbidly obese that it's like that big of an issue, but my doctors are making it an issue. They weren't worried at all that I haven't gained weight. But I have Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid disorder, an autoimmune thyroid disorder, so they changed my medication, which totally fucked up a lot of stuff. Like, it made me feel terrible, and it's attributed to quite a few of the symptoms that I've continued to have. Otherwise, I think my 2nd trimester would have been easier after that 18 weeks if it weren't for them changing my medication. That's a whole other story that I could ramble on about because I just think that it's ridiculous, the stuff that they're focusing on in my pregnancy. But anyway, at around 18 weeks or 19 weeks, I don't remember, I got really sick. It was right around the time that I was going to see the fetal medicine doctor for my like anatomy scan, which went perfect. Everything was perfectly fine. The only thing off in my anatomy scan is that I have a cyst on my right ovary that they just want to, it's not like cancerous or anything, but they just said that there is a chance that it could cause a lot of pain, and if it ever did, I need to go to the hospital if it does. For me, it's not gonna affect the baby, but it will affect me and possibly like mess up my ovary. But they said that the chance of that happening is very low. Knock on wood. I haven't had any issues with it so far, which is good. But at around 18 or 19 weeks, I got really sick. I had fever, chills, body aches, stomach ache, terrible diarrhea. And that is when I got an external hemorrhoid. Unfortunately, it's still a thing. It no longer hurts or anything like that, but this is very TMI. But like, it never went back in. So now I have this extra extremity in my body, which is not exactly my favorite thing in the world, but they won't really do anything for it while you're still pregnant. In fact, the nurse practitioner that I saw basically just told me that it'll probably get worse, which I thought was a terrible thing to tell a pregnant woman, but it is what it is. So it wasn't COVID, it wasn't the flu. They really have no idea what happened, and the fact that I had like a fever and I was very sick to my stomach for like over a week. Everything was making me sick. I had a lot of diarrhea. It was a great time. So that wasn't my favorite part. That's about when I started taking Colace, like a stool softener, every day, which has helped. I wouldn't say it's been perfect, but it's helped in general. I've still been having a lot of stomach issues. I just feel like this pregnancy in general kind of like threw off my gut microbiome like crazy. And I'm just having a lot more constipation, diarrhea, stomach aches, all that kind of stuff, which I used to have a lot when I was younger, and I did a lot of work on my health the last few years and I wasn't having those issues. So now they're back, which kind of stinks, but it is what it is. So around 18, 19, 20, I definitely wasn't feeling great because I got that stomach bug flu thing. I said at week 19, I was still having a lot of digestive issues, lots of bloating, sore calves. I could start to feel the baby move very occasionally, and I had a lot of lower back pain. And I also said that I finally started walking more and trying to work out. That's kind of gone up and down the last 8 weeks or so. Week 20, I said I had slight pressure or heaviness in my low abdomen on some days. I think it was just like my belly growing because it didn't continue. It wasn't anything I was worried about. I had some really bad stomach cramps with diarrhea earlier in that week, but otherwise my stomach started to feel better. And that is when they changed my medication as well. And they changed me from Armour Thyroid to levothyroxine. They claim that Armour doesn't cross the placenta, which is not good for the baby, even though the baby was doing fine. They basically scare tacticked me into this. So I did it. I don't regret it necessarily. I'm fine taking a new medication. However, I told them that it would, like, my body always really struggles getting on a new medication. They didn't listen to me. They told me it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't gonna happen. And I went fully hyperthyroid. So my thyroid levels have been dangerously low, which has caused tons of heart palpitations, extreme anxiety, trouble sleeping, a lot of stuff. If you've ever heard of hyperthyroid, also known as Graves, if you have the autoimmune version, I have hypothyroid with Hashimoto's, but I can, like, if they over medicate me, which they did, I can swing hyper, and it's very dangerous for your heart, which is not something that I want to be messing with when I'm pregnant. Like, I want my heart to be normal. So throughout this whole time, I would say until recently, I have been having a lot of heart palpitations, a lot of racing heart. I can't, like, get my heart rate to go down. When I do get anxious or upset about something, I can't, like, relax. And it's more than just, like, it's not mental. It is like the medication doing this to me. I've already knocked down 75 milligrams off of what they've given me, and I'm getting my blood work done in another 2 weeks, but it was very low, like dangerously low. They didn't even, like, keep checking it. They just assumed I was fine. So thankfully I have a naturopath who checks it for me, because having a Hashimoto's and dealing with regular doctors sometimes is so annoying. And I feel like OBGYN, like, it's not their job to understand thyroid issues. Yes, they, like, help a lot of women have thyroid issues who are pregnant, but they just totally effed everything up, to be honest. Week 21, I said I had chafing and a rash starting in between my legs. My belly looked more pregnant. I could start to see, like, a pregnant belly instead of just a, like, bloated or chunky belly. I said I couldn't really hide it anymore. I felt much better in general. I did have a few leg cramps, tired in the afternoon, and I was hyperthyroid, and my meds felt off. So that was kind of how that went. I've had on and off with the chafing and rash. It's just because things are, like, warmer, more fluid. Like, it just is what it is. So some days it's worse than others, and some days it's fine. Not something, though, that they told me I needed to worry about. Week 22, I said, oh, I feel good until about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then I start to slow down for the day. I would say that that kind of goes in waves. It just depends, like, how much I do in the morning. But at that point, I was just, like, so excited to be able to work even a partial day, or to be able to, like, run errands. I just hadn't been able to do much before that. This is also when I started doing my vlogs and stuff, so you guys saw me actually, like, doing more in my pregnancy. I still said chafing and a rash down there. I got that stomach flu thing again. So the same thing, I woke up with chills, a fever. My fever never went over 102, so I never had to, like, go into the doctor, but I had a fever of between 100 and 101 point something, and it was the same both times. I had the stomach issues again, the diarrhea again. This time Ben also caught it. The first time nobody else got sick, so I thought it was just my body, but this time he also got sick. But they, again, didn't do anything. They just told me, the whole thing with pregnancy, I feel like, is anytime you have any symptom, they're like, oh, that's normal. Welcome to pregnancy. And it's like, is it though? Is it though? Moving on to week 23, lots of heart palpitations. Thyroid levels are definitely off, anxiety, but I could feel some movement. So that week was, like, very obvious. I mean, at that point I would have been 2-ish weeks on my new thyroid medication, so it was like really running rampant at that point. 24 weeks, I said I felt pretty good, minus anxiety and heart palpitations. So again, kind of dealing with that thyroid issue. Week 25, oh, I had like lowered my medication at this point. So I was like starting to feel a little bit better, but it was still really, really low. So we lowered it some more. Like my levels, my TSH levels were extremely low, like low, like way too low. So just like messing with my thyroid medication kind of made me have a lot of days like that. That was when we left. I left in my 25th week on our trip home. So, you know, traveling 16 hours in a car, I wasn't sleeping. I was very exhausted, very sore, lots of leg cramps that would literally wake me up in the middle of the night, and I would like have to try not to like yell because it hurt so much. I'm still having leg cramps on and off. It seems like if I drink enough water, it's not as bad, but that it's not always connected with that. And I am drinking a lot of water, so I'm not really sure if that's actually what's happening. There was just a lot of stress and anxiety with driving home. A lot of the things that I was worried about happening on the trip did happen on the trip. I felt very overwhelmed. I wasn't sleeping well. Finn got hurt. Well, he got really sick, which I explained in the last vlog if you're interested in knowing about that. And yeah, it just was like not the best, but it was also nice to see family. We haven't seen anyone really, and nobody's seen me pregnant. So it was like good and bad. I feel like I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of like uncomfortability with pregnancy, and then also not getting enough sleep. But one thing I will say, if you're ever going on a road trip when you're pregnant, I bought, what are those things called?
The socks.
Compression socks. And I didn't wear them the first day until like the last hour of the trip because I thought they were stupid, and I was like, I don't need these, I'm not swelling. They're amazing. I wore them the whole rest of the trip anytime we were in the car. Even if it like doesn't stop all the swelling, it just, I don't know, it like weirdly takes pressure off your legs. I don't know. Highly recommend. As you saw, one thing that I didn't write down, I would say since about 24 weeks, my pregnancy brain is unreal. Like, I am so forgetful. I forgot my keys at home one day and I had to wait for Ben to get home for like 45 minutes because I couldn't get in the house. I forget what I'm talking about. I will put something down and I will lose it. That is just like not been me. Like, I'm not like that. But the pregnancy brain is real. I've had, what's it called, brain fog in the past from like being on birth control and having Hashimoto's, things like that. It's similar, but pregnancy brain is like brain fog on like the nth degree. I am so forgetful. I will literally be talking about something and I can't come up with the words. Thankfully, Ben is usually on the same page as me, so he can like pick up what I'm trying to put down most of the time. And I'll just be like, do you remember that one thing about that one person said? Or I'll be like, we should watch that one show. And he usually knows what I'm talking about. But I just like, the pregnancy brain is so bad. Like, and I'm like not even in 3rd trimester. So I'm just like, oh dear. Week 26, which was last week, because I'm in my 27th week. I just had to pause that for a second. If I'm in a different position, I had to cut that out. So again, 26 weeks. The hemorrhoid thing has just like not been my favorite. And then moody. Like, I'm just very crabby. I think part of it is this cold, because now I have a cold. So this is the 3rd thing that I've caught. If you watch the vlog about Finn, I do think the stress from the trip, not sleeping well, all that kind of stuff, and then Finn getting sick and having to go to the emergency vet, just like totally. Finn's my dog, by the way, if you don't watch my videos normally. I said my stomach was off with, but I do think that a lot of this had to do with the food. So we went home to the Midwest. We ate out a lot, weren't drinking enough water. Yeah, I think when we were at Ben's parents' house, we had like Portillo's or leftover Portillo's, which is a restaurant there, like literally every night we were there. I've been eating gluten, I've been eating dairy, just like all stuff that doesn't make my stomach feel great. So the stomach issues could also have been because of that stuff. But I was having like constipation issues again, even though I was taking a stool softener. So it was just like a whole thing. And then the leg cramps continued. They've still continued. I had pretty bad leg cramps last night too. I think I need to start taking magnesium to see if that'll help. Week 27, so that's this week. Technically, I'm 28 weeks pregnant tomorrow. Some people say that 27 weeks is third trimester. Some people say 28. I have no idea. So I'm just gonna say I'm in my third trimester. Basically at this point. I'll just tell you about my 27th week. I said it was very uncomfortable for traveling. It was really, like, with my belly and like my legs and stuff, not comfortable to sit in a car for 16 to 18 hours. Do not recommend. Constipation, my eating was off, very easily set off, very moody, very anxious. I still think that my thyroid levels are off. I think that they're better, but I think that they're off. So I do get those retested in a couple weeks. Lots of stress. And when I get triggered, I get really upset. So like Ben said something the other day to me that I took as hurtful. It was hurtful. We had a conversation about it. We're fine. But I like flipped out. Like I was like crying. I like couldn't get my anxiety to go down. I couldn't get my heart rate to go down. It just like seems like when I have emotions, they're really big. Overall, my second trimester was much better than my first. My first trimester sickness definitely trickled into my second trimester and didn't go away as early as like some people's do. It was not great, but it did eventually go away. I had a lot more energy. I was able to work more. The moodiness has kind of been in and out. I also still haven't gained any weight, which again, my doctors aren't worried about. Apparently they're more worried about my BMI currently than they are about anything else, which is fine. There's definitely a belly there and the baby is there. It moves a lot. That's good. Lots of movement. I can feel it more regularly. I have had a lot of anxiety, a lot of heart palpitations with my thyroid medication being messed up. And I'm just still dealing with like the overweight bullshit. I still have not met an OB. I've only met nurse practitioners. I'm supposed to meet a certified midwife nurse at my next appointment. So it's still not an OB. But eventually, hopefully, I'll meet an OB that could possibly be there to give birth. I have no idea. So there's like questions that I still need to bring up, like why do you have me listed as high risk? Why do I need to do a second gestational diabetes test? Like, why are you so focused on my weight when there are other things that are much more important, like the fact that you fucked up my thyroid levels badly. Not the best. I'm glad that I switched from my midwife practice, because I hated that midwife, to this practice. But at the same time, I'm like not. I haven't had a great experience with doctors in the Raleigh area in general. I think I was just spoiled in Chicago because we had like great doctors there. Hopefully we'll continue to figure out more. I'm hoping once this cold goes away that I can start to do some stuff. I think like going into my third trimester, we got some stuff from our baby shower. Not much actually. Like nobody bought off of our registry. Very few people did, which is fine, but also like now I have to buy all the stuff off of our registry. But I want to like start setting up some stuff, start like actually working through this pregnancy thing. We also hired a doula. So a lot has gone on that I feel like I could talk about in a different video. But if you're just watching for like what my second trimester was like, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I tried not to ramble, but I'm sure I did. And I will see you in the next video.